Hi, church. Well, hopefully you've already heard the really exciting news that we are going to be welcoming Ken Hwang to our spiritual family and to our church staff at the end of May. Ken will be stepping into the role of pastor of local and global engagement, and we can't wait to have him and his family among us exercising their gifts. Recently, Greta and I got a chance to catch up with Ken and his wife, Jeanyoung, and just hear a little bit more about the journey God has had them on and to find out a little more about their enthusiasm to join us here in Santa Barbara. We thought you'd enjoy listening in on part of that conversation. So here it is, a little bit of time with Ken and Jeanyoung. Well, church, I am really excited because for the next few minutes, you get to meet even further Ken and Jeanyoung. We're so excited that you guys are coming to join us in just a few weeks and be a part of the Santa Barbara Community Church family. And just wanted to use this opportunity for you guys to tell a little bit of your story so our church can get to know you a little bit. And so let's just jump right in. Tell us a little bit about how you each came to know Jesus.
Well, ladies first.
Okay. Well, I grew up going to church. So my earliest memories of going, from baby to elementary school. And so for me, I feel like I grew up knowing Jesus, and I was very lucky in that I never really experienced a time where I felt like I fell away and I didn't believe. But I would say, for me, my faith didn't really become my own until I went to college, and it was really up to me to keep going to church, and sort of making that intentional decision to seek out a church that I would call my own home, in this new city. And that's actually coincidentally where I also met Ken.
Best choice.
And so, yeah, I would say that I feel like I always sort of accepted the existence of Jesus, but my faith really became my own once I went to college.
Yeah, I think similarly for myself too. I grew up in a Christian family. My grandfather was a pastor in Korea, and that's the church where my parents got saved as well at. And I loved going to church. It's where I met my closest friends, who I'm still closest with to this day. A bunch of us became pastors, strangely enough, as well. And so we still keep in touch and keep each other accountable, pray for each other, and just act really stupid with each other in a good way as well. Yep. But yeah, I think that for me, I was at a youth retreat, and they had a classic kind of altar call. And my best friend and I, we just heard it and just something clicked, and we just responded. And it just, yeah, we went up and they prayed for us, and we prayed, and something changed that day for us. Sometimes you hear about kids, they just go and they get all emotional and that's it. But no, something definitely changed for me, especially that day. And I just had a desire from that point to know God and to read the word and to grow and to get involved eventually too. And so pretty soon after. So that's kind of my spiritual journey, at least to that point. And of course, a continuous journey at all times as well.
Yeah. That's great. So Ken, tell us a little bit what first caught your attention about the role at Community Church and the role of pastor of local and global engagement.
So the first thing I saw was that it's in California, and I was actually almost that's just a dream. And I just kind of felt well, that's just not going to happen.
Yeah, we almost wrote it off, actually. Yeah, it's oh, we're not going to move to California.
Yeah, that's too perfect of a place for us. But I think I just saw it, and I saw the role, and I've had experience serving at several churches, working as kind of an outreach and missions pastor there before. And in some ways I was like, oh, I've kind of have experience in these different things. And I was almost like, I think with God's help, I can do some of these things. And I think what was really exciting, especially too, was kind of seeing the core values of the church and the gospel and how that's kind of played out in the entire focus of the vision of the ministry. But also along with that was a lot of the other churches I've been at, I almost had to kind of create the entire missions and outreach department from the ground up, the entire ministry. But here, obviously, there's already all these great ministries going on, amazing people already serving overseas, already a missions committee in place. And so I was just like, well, this is awesome. And we can just kind of work together and hopefully with God's grace, kind of continue the ministry and try to follow in Benji's footsteps here and try to, continue.
Won't be that hard, I promise.
And then try to just reach more people, and especially trying to mobilize and trying to inspire and try to get more of our folks just involved in the mission of God, because obviously it's a beautiful thing when that happens. And so that really excites me.
Yeah. Jeanyoung, as you started to learn more about the church, kind of what stood out to you? What was appealing to you?
So when I first looked at the job description, first of all, aesthetically, I could tell that the church was with it, modern and very just wanting to do things well, right? And so just off the bat, it just tells you something. And then reading the job description, it was like, these are things that you really like to do. And these are the things that we're passionate about. And so from the job description, we're really, really interested. And then, for us, the next step was to go onto the church website and read a little bit more about the church and what the church believes in. And it really aligned very well with what we think of the Bible, like holding the scripture in the highest regard and just preaching on Bible-centered sermons for the congregation. And another thing that was appealing for, I think, both of us and me was that, the staff was pretty large. And I think coming from a place where I think the past, many years we've been at smaller churches, which has been really great in a lot of ways. But I think Ken has really missed sort of that support within the staff. And so just the idea of having a large staff there that can support each other and pray for each other and really encourage each other in this ministry that you're all in together, that was also something that was really exciting to see. And so just kind of decided to go for it.
I think at first I saw the posting and then I was like, oh, and I just kind of forgot about it for a day or so. And then she was like, did you see that post? You should apply to that one. And so if anything, if she hadn't kind of followed up with me on it, I probably would have just been kind of it's just kind of a dream.
It felt right. The more I prayed about it and I felt very at peace about the church. I felt very at peace about the position. And I felt strangely at peace with the thought of moving to the whole different coast where we've never, ever lived before. And it just seemed like this seems like a place where things are set up that we would be supported in making this move all by ourselves without knowing anybody out there. And it felt right. Yeah.
Great.
Now we're just super excited.
Yeah, as are we. What are some experiences or maybe some books that have shaped your heart for mission, your heart for the globe?
Want me to go?
You can go first.
Okay. I think before I get to the books, I would probably jump first to certain people that God has really blessed me with in my life. Even when I was at that church, I grew up most of my young life in Connecticut. And at that small church, we didn't even have a youth pastor most of the time that we were there. We would have some college students who would swing by from time to time and they would teach us the Bible. But they were amazing and they were so dedicated to us and they were just so on fire for the Lord. And just seeing them and hearing from them, being taught by them, I was like, wow, there is so much more than just going to church and just kind of singing some songs and bearing through a message or something like that as a kid. And then just seeing them and how they lived, I think opened my eyes to a lot of things. And then going to college, especially, and meeting these certain pastors and certain leaders and just great older brothers and sisters in the faith. And they just really looked out for me and took the time to really explain things for me. And especially in getting involved in my church and my Christian fellowship. And they just really challenged me to think very kind of gospel-centric, very missionally, hey, think of 3 to 5 people who don't know the Lord and commit to pray for them every single day. And let's believe that God will hear and answer our prayers. And so we just started doing that. I remember even in college. And I really feel that God sent me to college to just experience Him and to grow in Him, and my grades reflect that as well, unfortunately. But I think, and then just seeing God respond and move, and then people just randomly coming up that you're praying for, and they say like, "Hey, like, do you believe in God? Like, I've been having these questions. Will you come and explain things to me?" And just like even like crazy experiences like that. And then Gary Parrott, who was my pastor in college at my church, and also eventually my seminary professor too. He was just the man who knew the Bible so well, taught the Bible so well, and just taught just how the entire Bible is all about God's heart for the lost and God's heart for His people. So I think that really just was very transformational for me and very helpful for me. So I would say these people and the Bible kind of first and foremost. And I think like along with that, just seeing like David Platt and his books and thinking radically for the gospel and how to reach the lost. A lot of these books, and just even like reading certain missionaries, their kind of stories as well, from Adoniram Judson to Hudson Taylor, different people, and just seeing their heart for the lost and all the sacrifices that they're willing to make to reach the lost and to preach the gospel to people. And just I think all of that just kind of was very formational for me, especially my college and seminary years during that time, especially.
Yeah,
I feel like I have nothing to add to that.
Totally fair. Totally fair.
Yeah, I think especially too, and then I think starting out in ministry, another thing that kind of was very formational for me and that taught me a lot was you like read these things and you learn these things in class and other places or in a Bible study or in a discipleship class. But I think when I started off in ministry, and then you just actually start serving people, and you start hearing their hearts, and you hear their issues and problems, and you just see like the brokenness of people. I think then it becomes from like theoretical, it becomes very just real, and a very ministry becomes very like real in a very practical way and relational way. And then seeing that, oh, like missions isn't something where you have to go far away, but it's all around, and everybody, whether they've heard of Jesus Christ or not, everybody needs healing. Everybody has certain things that they are struggling with and working through that we can help them with and reach out to them for as well. So I think just you see it and you just see the work of God, that God's calling you to make a difference wherever He kind of places you.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So what are you most looking forward to when you think about joining the Santa Barbara Community Church family? Because we are very excited about you joining this family.
I am really excited to be a part of this church that seems to be really loving on its people and loving like its community within the church and also around the church. And also just joining in with this family, you know, this church family that's just passionate about the Bible and about God and about carrying out like the Bible's mission in a very real, practical, tangible ways. I'm really excited for that.
That's great.
Yeah, I think that's a huge part of it as well too. I think obviously I'm very excited to join like the staff and to just work with a team and to care for each other and support each other, and just even, I don't know, that kind of excitement and energy that comes from being creative together and praying together and seeking the Lord together, worshiping Him, and He kind of guides us and leads us and opens doors for us in certain ways too. I think that's all super exciting. And I think that as Jeanyoung mentioned, just the church is loving and grounded, but a lot of times when you see churches that really care about that, sometimes they almost are just kind of like very insular, and a lot of times just kind of like almost kind of like this little holy huddle type of situation. But no, it's like God blesses us so that we can go out and be a blessing. And I just see the many ways that community churches is seeking to do that, both locally and globally in different ways.
Yeah, it's great.
Awesome. What will you miss most about the East Coast?
Not the weather.
We'll miss the weather.
Our son will miss the
She
weather.
will miss the snow very much. I think I'm gonna miss just the familiarity of it. Because I was born in Chicago, but I moved to New Jersey when I was 4, and I've only been up and down the East Coast since then. And so it has a feel, and I know what that feel is. I have no idea what the California feel is going to be. Ken told me that I'm going to have to learn how to chill out, which I don't know if I can do, but apparently I'm going to have to learn how to chill.
We'll help you.
We will.
Thank you.
You don't have to do it alone.
Thank you. But yeah, I know.
Yeah, I think when I saw that question, my first thought was kind of probably like the people, but then the people and the relationships and friendships that we've made here. But I also feel at the same time, those things will continue. And I feel like even the people that we're particularly very close with and who've made an impact in our lives, or by God's grace, we made an impact in their lives in some ways. I feel like we'll still keep in touch, and we'll still see each other moving forward too. And so I feel like even that is not something I'll mourn or miss, because I feel like that will continue. And so, to be quite honest, in a lot of ways, I'm like,
you're not gonna miss anything.
Yeah, let's just go. Like, we're just super. I'm just super excited to go and get started and join y'all out there. Yeah.
Wow.
I will miss proximity to Manhattan, just because that's something I've taken for granted my entire life. But I'm not gonna miss the commute into Manhattan, so I'm okay leaving that behind.
There you go. There you go. You can cruise down to LA every once in a while and get this.
Okay.
That's really okay.
Nice. Well, we are going to do a little lightning round, and you don't know these questions that are coming, and so we'll just ask you, and you're just going to give us the first response that comes to mind. And if I have to edit it out later because it's inappropriate, I will. That's totally fine.
Let's do it.
All right. Best concert you've ever attended?
Ooh, Boys to Men.
Brian McKnight.
Favorite late night snack?
Favorite late night snack? Chips? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know.
Wow.
Chips for me.
All right. All right. App on your phone that you use more often than you should.
Facebook. Mine would be probably like sports podcasts, and I ridiculously follow like how many steps I've taken on my phone. And then like I'll get up and just start walking around in like the house randomly to increase my steps.
It's really annoying.
Yeah.
It's very healthy.
It's annoying. I fully recognize it's annoying.
That's awesome.
Travel destination you'd love to visit?
Maldives.
Ooh.
But it's so far. Santa Barbara.
That's right, you haven't been.
I haven't been.
I don't think I've
We're
been.
very boring. We should start this lightning round over again.
I don't know. I feel like I've been able to travel to a lot of places. So I don't have one.
Okay, I'll say another one.
Okay.
I always wanted to go to Banff, and I'm actually really excited that we're going to be on the West Coast now, and it makes it a little bit more.
A little bit more accessible.
Yeah, accessible.
That's awesome. All right. Favorite book to read to or with Theo?
When Theo was born, my dad told me it was really necessary for, I don't know why, he told him he had worked with this old Jewish man, and then this man had told my dad that in order for a child to love reading, that the Jewish, I don't know if this is correct or not, but the Jewish understanding and belief is that the dad must read a lot with the child. And so my dad was like, you have to read a lot with Theo when he's born. So I said, okay. And so we read like everything with him, like even before, like straight out of the womb. And my favorite book to read with him was a book called What Do You Do With the Problem? And it's this kind of book, and it's like a kid's book, and talks about like this boy who has this problem, but then all of a sudden, like one day he kind of confronts the problem and sees that it's not a problem, but it's an opportunity for something good to happen and things of that sort. So It's a very gospelish message in there. I know. I can't get it out of me.
Yeah, I am having a really hard time picking a favorite, but I'll tell you what my least favorite is.
By all means.
The Giving Tree. I do not like that book. Everybody loves that book. First of all, it totally destroys me because I turn into a weepy mess. Because I'm like, oh, I totally understand how much the tree loves you. But also, like, I feel like it's so unhealthy because the tree just like becomes this tiny little stump and sacrifices its entire being in an unhealthy way for this child who makes really unreasonable asks of the tree. I don't like the Giving Tree.
Clearly, that's great. That would have been a better question to lead with.
Yeah.
Which
Or do you not like reading to your children?
I feel like we just like totally just like upset several people who just heard this.
Maybe edit that out.
Yeah.
Maybe edit that out.
probably not. That was great.
Okay, athlete you'd pay the most money to watch in person.
Michael Jordan,
For
it
you.
has to be.
Yeah.
To watch in person at their prime, I assume.
Sure.
Yeah. If you were able to go back and see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would probably be mine too. Yeah. Well, I do believe that LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan.
LeBron James is not better
I
than
will edit that part out for your sake, not just for your sake. 'Cause-
Oh,
Bigger and stronger and faster and just a better
No,
athlete.
okay, we're gonna move on in the lightning round for your sake.
Do whatever you want.
And
but I'm
because
gonna
we
come
don't
back to this
tolerate
and like
heresy.
talk about it over and over
LeBron
again.
James is not better.
What's one skill that your spouse has that you wish you had?
I wish I had perfect pitch.
Oh, that'd be a good skill.
Is it really that great?
Yeah, I mean that's like one of the few things you have that I don't.
Okay. I'm just not anywhere close to being as organized as her. That's something I have to like really, really work hard at. And like I think even in this moving process, it's just shown over and over again, just my lack of attention to detail and things of that sort. So yeah, there's a lot of things I can grow to be much better at.
That's great.
Which she tells me.
It's helpful to know.
That is
Yeah. But in moderation.
Other than Jesus, which biblical figure would you most like to hang out with?
I always said Peter for the longest time because I felt a strange connection with him because he was this very like emotional and kind of dramatic person, and I tend to kind of be like that too. Also, he was a fisherman, and for a long while, my parents owned a fish store when I was growing up, and so I kind of felt like this connection with fish and seafood. But I would actually say more recently, the person I would love to like hang out with and get to know and spend time with is actually Thomas. And I've been preaching about him recently and things, and just seeing kind of like his story, what happens in John chapter 20 verses 24 to 29, and seeing kind of like what happens, and he's honest with his questions, he's honest with his doubts, and then Jesus comes and answers those questions and doubts, and then even just doing research as to what happens in his life, and he becomes this amazing like missionary and church planter and pastor and preacher of the gospel in like Iraq and Iran and India, and eventually Doubting Thomas becomes like this amazing church leader and a martyr for the Christian faith as well too. So I'm just like, that's a guy I want to know, because I feel like he's like this very imperfect character, and God uses and transforms in such a powerful way.
That's great.
That's a good answer.
Thanks.
I think I would say Paul, because he just seems like such an interesting person. Just his entire backstory, Saul to Paul, and then like his physical description, and he's so fiery. And I feel like he says the things that people need to hear, and he just gives it to them straight. And I feel like he'll be able to set me straight in a lot of ways. And he would tell me what I need to hear, unfiltered. So I think Paul would be really cool to hang out with.
Nice. Just a couple more. Which TV game show would you do the best at?
Maybe Family Feud.
Family Feud.
I would like it to be Jeopardy, but
You have to be so smart in so many categories.
or at least know a lot of trivia.
Yeah, and I feel like there's too many where I would fall short in. I always felt that I'd be really good at Price is Right and spinning that wheel. I feel like I would be able to like spin it really hard and go around a lot, and I'll be proud of how many times it went around.
I think we do well in Family Feud.
Family Feud, though, yeah, I'll go with that.
Great.
Good answer. Good answer.
Survey says.
That's funny.
Who would you want to read the audio version of your life story?
Would it be somebody who's pretending to be me, like in my voice, or just somebody to?
Whatever you want it to be.
Hard question. Maybe Dennis Haysbert. Is that his name?
Yeah, you mean President Palmer?
I think
Yes.
he was a president in some show, but that I didn't watch.
Mm-hmm.
But he's in those Allstate commercials, right?
Oh,
Hamish Ball.
Hamish Ballard. Yeah.
Because his voice is just so
It is very smooth and deep. Yeah, that's a good one. Strangely enough, I think I would want, like, I mentioned like those guys I grew up with in my youth group. I think I would want them. And I feel like they would just be really silly and would just have a really good time with it. So, yeah.
That's great. That's great. I think the right answer was Morgan Freeman for you, but
That was too obvious. I did think of that. Yeah.
maybe.
They can write your life story.
He can read my life story. It'd be great. That's great. Well, thanks for making the time for this. I'm so excited, church, for you to get to know Ken and Jeanyoung even more, and Ken and Jeanyoung for you to get to know Santa Barbara Community Church more. We are just thrilled about God's provision of you and your family. We can't wait to have you and Theo out here. And yeah, God bless as you wrap up your time on the East Coast and then make your way out here. And yeah, good luck selling your snow gear because you won't need it. And yeah, can't wait to have you here.
Thank you. We're so excited to be there. Yeah.
Super excited, y'all.
Yeah. All right. Well, love you guys. It's been great. And we'll see you soon.
Love you guys too. See you soon. God bless.